Hello everybody. Today I'm excited to show you how to transform a summer photo into a stunning autumn scene using Adobe Lightroom. We'll take a look at this beautiful image of a colorful butterfly perched on a vibrant flower. While the colors are lovely, they scream summer with all that bright green in the background. But don't worry, I'll guide you through the editing process to give it that cozy fall vibe. When I first saw this image on my computer, I really liked it, but I felt like something was missing. I wish it had that warm autumn feel, with leaves changing colors right before winter sets in. If you have a summer photo that you'd like to give a fall makeover, let's dive in. First, open your image in Lightroom and head over to the Develop tab. I like to start with the lens corrections, so I'll enable the profile corrections. This will adjust the image based on the camera and lens used, so your settings might look different than mine if you use a different camera or a different lens, for example. Next, let's crop the image. I'm going to use the rule of thirds to align the top line with the butterfly's eye and the bottom line with the center of the flower. Then I'm going to even it out so there's a balance of space on each side, and this should create a nice balance in the composition. Now let's jump back to the Edit tab and focus on the basic adjustments. Remember, all the sliders here will affect the entire image. I'll slightly increase the exposure and contrast. For the highlights, I'll decrease them quite a bit to tone down that harsh sunlight. I'll also boost the shadows to bring some detail, increase the whites, and then darken the blacks just a touch. Since the butterfly and flower have great texture, I'll increase the texture and clarity sliders. To even things out, I'll reduce the dehaze a bit. Finally, I'll lower the vibrance and make a slight increase in saturation. With the basic adjustments done, let's move on to the color mixer. Here, you could tweak each color individually. There's no right or wrong way to adjust these sliders, just avoid maxing them out. As I adjust each color, I keep an autumn theme in mind, aiming for warm tones that complement the season. While none of these changes are drastic on their own, together they start to shift the overall feel of the image. I'll save the most significant adjustments for the end using the color calibration, but for now, I'm laying the groundwork. Now, let's head to the color grading section. Each adjustment section can achieve similar effects, so feel free to experiment and see what works best for your style. For the shadows, I'll set the hue to 60, leave the midtones as they are, and then set the highlights hue to 8. That wraps up the color grading. In the effects section, you can add vignetting or darkening around parts of your photo, but I prefer to use masks for that, which I'll show you shortly. So far, we've enhanced the image, but it still looks very much like summer with that bright green background. This brings us to the calibration section, where we can make significant global adjustments. I'll lower the green primary hue and the blue primary hue, which will dramatically change the look of the image, helping us achieve that autumn aesthetic. We could stop here, but I love to use masks to dodge and burn the image, emphasizing the highlights and shadows to draw attention to our main subjects, the flower and the butterfly. To start adding layer masks, click on the Circle Mask tab and then select Create New Mask. I'll use a radial gradient around the butterfly and flower. Then, I'll decrease the exposure to darken the background slightly. For the next mask, I'll use a linear gradient starting from the top and going about halfway down the photo. I'll subtract the subject to keep the butterfly and flower untouched, and then lower the exposure. Next, I'll create another linear gradient starting from the bottom of the image, going about 3/4 of the way up. I'll subtract the subject and clean up any missed areas with the brush tool. Then, I'll slightly lower the exposure. For the fourth mask, I'll use a linear gradient from the left side of the photo, stopping at the edge of the flower and darken the edges by lowering the exposure. I'll repeat this process for the right side, starting the linear gradient from the right edge and stopping at the flower and butterfly wings, bringing down the exposure just a bit. Finally, I'll create one last linear gradient starting from the bottom of the photo and coming up to the bottom of the flower. Then lower the exposure. With all the masks in place, you can see how they darken the background, and that effect helps to focus the viewer's eye on the butterfly and the flower. Thanks for watching. If you like what you see, please hit subscribe to see more in the future.